Ladies and gentlemen, we have 6 exotic auto rifles in Destiny 2. 7 if you're counting Vex Mythoclast, but it technically is a fusion rifle, so I'm gonna be excluding it in this video. And unlike the other 3 videos that I did in this vein, the pulses, the bows, and the fusion rifles, I've decided to order up and rank these auto rifles, in accordance with absolutely nothing except my personal preference. Everyone plays Destiny a little bit differently, and looks for varying aspects when selecting a weapon. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that this auto rifle is better than this auto rifle, because I'm not you, and I'm sure we don't play in the same manner. But what I will do is try to give you as much information as possible on each auto rifle. We'll take a look at what makes each one unique, we'll run some damage numbers, and break down its performance in both PvP and PvE. So if you don't already have a favorite, you can make an informed decision for yourself. But I also like to have a little bit of fun with these type of videos. I made a community post the other day asking anyone willing to play along to rename each exotic auto rifle. And for each one, I picked my favorite from the comments, and I got almost 200 responses when I finally cut things off, so if I didn't pick yours, sorry, but there were a lot of great suggestions. But anyway, these multi-weapon breakdowns do take me quite a while to put together, so if you do end up enjoying this video, please remember to leave it a like. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel, but only if you think the content is worth supporting. But let's get into the video, starting out with my least favorite auto rifle, sitting at number 6. In the number 6 slot, I have Tommy's Matchbook, aka the Flaming Typewriter. An obvious and appropriate play on the Chicago Typewriter, a name often used to reference a Tommy gun. And I put this weapon in the number 6 spot for one reason and one reason alone, which is highlighted in the intrinsic trait Ignition Trigger. Sustained fire with this weapon overheats it, increasing the damage, but burning the user. This gun f***ing hurts me. And regardless if we're talking PvP or PvE, I'm just not cool with this. And yeah, there are builds and setups and loadouts that can help negate that damage, but I'm just not okay with the weapon I'm wielding hurting me. Other than that though, it's a solid auto rifle. 100 round magazine, 720 round per minute fire rate, good range, good stability, good handling, good aim assist, good gun, except for the fact it sets me on fire if I hold the trigger down for too long. In PvE versus my favorite testing dummy Carl the Colossus, we're going to be critting for 953 points of damage at base. But once we set ourselves ablaze and that damage boost kicks in, we're going to be critting for 1,890. That's almost a big boy 100% damage increase. This puts the total damage in one magazine at 165,575, with a single mag damage per second coming in at 19,948, which all in all, pretty stinking good for a primary weapon. In PvP, at base we're seeing 21 on a crit and 14 to the body, putting Tommy's base optimal time to kill at 0.77 seconds, and the body shot time to kill comes in at 1.17 seconds. When that damage buff kicks in though, which is about a 50% increase in PvP, the optimal drops to 0.5 and the body shot's gonna go down to 0.77. Impressive, but at the cost of self-damage. And that's pretty much this weapon's thing. Very solid damage from a primary, but this gun's gonna take little bites out of your health bar. Now Tommy's isn't gonna outright kill you, but if the trigger is held down long enough, it is capable of stripping your entire shield, leaving you critical. Tommy's does have a catalyst that when Ignition Trigger is active, it'll help you regen your health faster, but this is only going to affect your red health bar, not your shield, which could save your life, but it's definitely not the effect that I was hoping to see from the catalyst. In general though, if you're willing to play around the self-damage from Tommy's, this is a gun that is capable of being a very solid weapon, just not one that I tend to gravitate towards. So if this sounds like a weapon that you'd be into, it's available for direct purchase at the exotic weapon kiosk at the tower, provided you have access to the Shadowkeep content. Moving on though to my number 5 exotic auto rifle. For number 5 on my list, I have Monte, aka the reminder that Destiny 2 does not have working bayonets, because looks cool, but it's all for show. If you're really into having your melee ability up as often as possible though, this is the gun for you. Intrinsic trait Monte Carlo method. Just dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown, and grants a chance to fully recharge your melee on a kill. This weapon also has Markov chain, which grants a swashbuckler-esque damage boost. 1 stack on a weapon kill, 5 stacks on a melee kill. And this also does grant ammo for the gun. For the damage, in PvE at base, we're looking at 1,132 points of damage on a crit. This is going to jump all the way up to 1,868 when Markov Chain ×5 is active. This is a 65% damage increase, lasting roughly 4.5 seconds. With it, maximum single mag damage comes in at 68,492, time to empty the magazine comes in at 5.52 seconds, single mag damage per second, 12,408. PvP damage values, 23 on a crit, 15 to the body. Optimal time to kill, 0.8 seconds. And the body shot time to kill is going to come in at 1.3 seconds. After securing a melee kill, that damage is going to jump to 31 and 19 though, giving us a 35% damage increase in PvP. This is going to move that optimal time to kill down to 0.6 seconds. And the body shot time to kill when buffed is going to come in at 1 second flat. The stats on the 600 RPM kinetic auto rifle, not too shabby either. Strong marks in handling and reload, good marks in stability, with a 43 round magazine. Where it does come up a little bit short though, is in the aim assist department. And I think this is my biggest gripe with the weapon. Rounds fired from Monte Carlo just, to me, don't feel as forgiving or as grabby as I always thought they should have. It's gonna be on you to make sure those crosshairs stay on target, because the gun doesn't really want to help out all that much. Now that built-in damage increase definitely is a very nice feature, but I've always felt like this weapon just comes up a little bit short in overall consistency, which is why I shy away from it. Monte Carlo in the Crucible, for lack of a better word, feels weird to me. I do like it a lot more in PvE. That 65% damage increase is very nice, and it fits in fantastic with any melee-centric build. Or it's great for someone who just tends to lean on their melee ability pretty heavily. As a Warlock main, I use Monte Carlo a lot when Stasis was in its prime. It works out really nice with Celestial Fire or Ball Lightning on Middle Tree Stormcaller. It's a fine weapon in PvE, but most of the time, my melee ability is not my top priority. And no catalyst for this weapon at this time, so that's kind of a bummer. Lastly, if you don't have this weapon yet, it is a random world drop or could be purchased from Xur if he happens to bring it on a given week. But with that, let's move on to number 4. At number 4, I have Sweet Business, and brrr was a very popular suggestion in the comments for this one, but I decided to go with the Lawnmower. And if you ever let this thing rip into a pack of trash ads, you probably know why. This was Destiny 2's first iteration on a handheld minigun. And this gun is a bullet hose. It has a 150 round magazine with a fire rate that starts out at 360 rounds per minute and increases up to 720 rounds per minute as the trigger is held down. This sustained fire is also going to increase this weapon's range. Intrinsically, you'll see that you get increased accuracy when firing from the hip, and running over an ammo brick will automatically reload your weapon. Stat-wise, this gun does have some holes. First off, reload and handling stink. Thematically, this fits, but it does make it a very sluggish feeling weapon. Stability and aim assist are serviceable though, and the recoil direction is maxed out at 100. As far as damage is concerned, in PvE, we're going to be critting for 1,208 points of damage in a controlled test environment. That gives us the potential for 181,200 points of damage in a single magazine. Time to empty that 150 round magazine due to the increasing fire rate comes in at 10.7 seconds. So for the single mag damage per second, we're looking at 16,935. Now in PvP, Sweet Business is going to crit for 22 and register 16 to the body. The optimal time to kill starts out at 1.33 seconds and moves down to 0.6 seconds when the weapon is fully spun up. The body shot time to kill starts out at 1.68 and can dip as low as 0.8 seconds. So in PvP, this can be a very deadly weapon. Fast time to kills, provided it's humming at its max fire rate. This is a gun that can shred enemy guardians to bits, sometimes before they even have time to react. Your trade-off here is mobility. Sweet Business loves when you hold the trigger down, letting that beautiful harmony of bullets passing through 10 spinning barrels ring across the Crucible map. But doing this is really going to slow you down, limiting both your vertical and lateral movement. For someone with the right playstyle and the right mindset though, this can be an effective weapon. In PvE though, to me, this gun has always just been flat out enjoyable to use. Probably a little bit more so if you're playing on a Titan with Actium Warvig or Icefall Mantle. Both are also good in PvP by the way. But Sweet Business does feel like a very Titan gun. Boots on the ground, finger on the trigger, annihilate anything that steps in front of you. It's the Titan way, or so I've been told. and that game plan works fantastic in baseline content. But when you move into more difficult activities, you need to pour a lot more rounds into higher tier enemies to put them down. It can be pretty easy to forget that sweet business is a primary weapon. It needs to be kept in line with other primaries, so the damage is in check. Always puts a smile on my face though, laying on the trigger with this thing. And if you're still looking for this gun, this is a random drop as well, so just keep your fingers crossed, and eventually you will stumble upon it. Onward to number 3 though. Number 3 on my list, I have Hardlight, aka the Skittles Gun. And while you're not going to taste the full rainbow on this one, 3 out of 6 colors ain't bad. This is another 600 RPM auto with 49 rounds in the magazine. As far as the stats on Hardlight, they're exceptional. Reload and handling are very good. If you have the catalyst unlocked, the stability will be maxed out at 100. The aim assist is maxed out at 100. The recoil direction, maxed out at 100. Very, very good weapon just based on stats alone. Its exotic perk is the fundamentals, allowing this energy auto rifle to swap elements on the fly by holding the reload button. The intrinsic trait is volatile light. Rounds fired from this weapon will have reduced damage fall off, over-penetrate targets, ricochet off hard surfaces, and see a slight damage increase on a bounce. For the damage, we're scoring 1078 on a crit versus Carl. That's giving us 52,822 points of potential damage in a single magazine. Time to empty the magazine comes in at 4.82 seconds. So single mag damage per second is 10,959. And when I said bounce shots get a slight damage increase, I was wrong. They get a 100% damage increase in PvE. Double damage. So I mean, take note of the fact that bouncing and body shots does exceed the weapon's crit damage. In PvP, crits are landing for 23 and body shots are scoring 15. So 0.8 second optimal time to kill and a 1.3 second body shot time to kill again. We do see ricocheted shots scoring 19 to the body and 31 on a crit though. Not quite the damage increase that we saw in PvE, but this is still 35% more damage. And in the Crucible, Hardlight's had a pretty wild ride in Destiny 2. Bungie was making small incremental adjustments to this thing to try to get it into a more user-friendly position. But back in Season of the Worthy, when auto rifles got a pretty substantial buff, Hardlight got out of control in a hurry. It was strong to the point where Bungie had to do a mid-season tuning pass on the weapon, which back then was something they did not often do. They toned down the ricochet damage in PvP and took away the no damage fall off part of the perk and replaced it with reduced damage fall off. But I'll tell you what, this is still a pretty darn good PvP auto rifle. It has a lot of things going for it. Like we talked about earlier, the stats make this gun very consistent and easy to use. You really couldn't ask for much more in this department. It's still seeing 35% more damage on a bounced bullet, it has a better damage fall off profile than most of the other exotic auto rifles, and it will over-penetrate targets. Nice, nice, and nice. In my opinion, it's just flat out a good auto rifle for PvP. In PvE, we do find that great utility of being able to swap the elemental damage type on the fly. This allows Hardlight to find some footing in high-end content when the match game modifier is turned on. And there aren't too many exotic primaries that get a look when loading out for scaled up activities. You do have to take into account though, legendary autos can come with armor piercing rounds, they can come with ricochet rounds, and a lot of them can achieve a better damage fall off profile. But this still is a great feeling auto rifle with some very nice situational utility. If you're still hunting for this gun, it's yet another random drop, so may RNG be kind to you. But moving on to number 2. Alright, for me 1 and 2 were very close, but I gave Cerberus +1, aka the Junkyard Dog, the number 2 slot. A clever play on the fact that Cerberus was a 3-headed dog from Greek mythology, and this gun looks like it was lifted straight from a scrap heap. This is without a doubt one of the strangest and most unruly weapons in the game, and I love it for it. Cerberus is a kinetic 360 RPM auto rifle with 31 rounds in the magazine. And if you just look at the stats, you'd think this weapon's kinda doo-doo. Lower marks almost across the board, with the recoil direction keeping things fairly vertical though. The intrinsic trait, 4-headed dog, shoots erratic bullets from all gun barrels at the same time. So you're kinda gonna get a shotgun-like spread with 4 bullets. The exotic perk, spread shot package. Aiming down sights reduces the spread of the projectiles. And the catalyst does add some new functionality to the weapon. It allows us to swap to a tighter, close range spread by holding the reload button. making it fire more like a shotgun. For the damage numbers, I'm gonna have to point you to the full review I did on this gun. There's just so many variables with the spread of the shot, the angle that the shot comes out at, and the fact that this weapon has reverse damage fall off. So the further you get away from the target, the more damage each projectile is going to do, up to 50 meters. But the further you are away from the target, the less chance you have of landing multiple projectiles. So weird damage that I'm not even gonna try to get into on a quick breakdown. PvP damage, same story, it's a mess to sort out. In my full review, I tested the damage at a lot of different ranges. Go check that out if you're really interested in this gun. Thoughts on this gun though? In PvP, it's an inconsistent and wild beast. Inconsistent in its damage output though, not in the manner in which it downs targets. Somehow, some way, this gun just seems to work against all odds. It can chew up enemy guardians very efficiently with hardly any need for precision. Just point in the general direction of your target, lay on the trigger, and let the gun do the work. It's a weapon that's surprisingly serviceable from mid-range and does a great job at sitting down over-aggressive shotgun rushers. But for a more analytical player who really likes to measure out their ranges and keep tabs on their damage potential, this gun's probably gonna drive you nuts. In PvE, it's pretty much the same story. Point, shoot, rip through almost anything. And by almost anything, I mean any enemy that you're not finding in endgame level content. Damage at range is not this weapon's strong suit, and a lot of times when you're going into scaled up activities, that's kind of what you're looking for. But in low to mid level content, it will rip through ads with reckless aggression, and it is a joy to use. And this weapon, yet again, another random drop, so if you still need it, hopefully someday soon you can get your hands on it. And finally, moving on to numero uno. Number one, as I'm sure you figured out by process of elimination, is Suros regime. And I couldn't have said it better myself. Long live the regime. And a lot of me ranking this number one has to do with nostalgia. Well, maybe not nostalgia per se, but more familiarity. I've been using this gun and loving this gun for, almost 7 years now? Suros is a 600 round per minute kinetic auto rifle with a smaller 36 round magazine. We're looking at some pretty solid base stats from top to bottom, with that recoil direction being the weapon's biggest flaw. Instead of an exotic perk, Suros has two selectable fire modes. Spinning up, where the rate of fire increases as the trigger is held down, and dual speed receiver, which is going to knock the fire rate down to 360 rounds per minute, but allow the weapon to hit a bit harder. The intrinsic trait is Suros Legacy. The bottom half of the magazine deals bonus damage, similar to high impact reserves, but each kill also has a chance to heal the wielder. Moving right along to the damage, a base crit in PvE when the spinning up fire mode is selected is going to register 1069 points of damage. On the 18th round, that damage is going to jump to 1123, with the final round connecting for 1176. That's going to give us right around 39,933 points of damage in a single magazine. Time to empty is just over 2.9 seconds, so single mag damage per second is 13,770. Crits with dual speed receiver at base are registering 1,748. On the 19th round, that jumps to 1,837, and the final bullet hits for 1908. Damage in a single mag with this fire mode is 65,169. But it is going to take 5.86 seconds to deliver the damage with dual speed receiver, so single mag DPS here, 11,121. In PvP, starting with dual speed receiver, 36 on a crit, 22 to the body. Optimal time to kill, 0.83 seconds. Body shot time to kill, 1.33 seconds. The Suros Legacy damage buff is not going to change the optimal time to kill in this fire mode, but it will drop the body shot time to kill down to 1.16 seconds. In the spinning up fire mode, crits register 22 points of damage and body shots land for 15. So Suros at base does hit a little bit lighter than other 600 round per minute auto rifles. It's still going to hit that 0.8 second optimal time to kill, but it's going to take 9 crits to do it, as opposed to 8 crits in one body. Body shot time to kill will be 1.3 seconds. But when this weapon is fully spun up, firing at 900 rounds per minute, the optimal time to kill can go as low as 0.53 seconds, and the body shot time to kill will sit at 0.8 seconds. The catalyst for Suros improves your chance of getting healed after a kill. Without the catalyst, in previous testing, I found it to be a 50-50 chance of seeing health returned. With the catalyst, I saw it to be around 75%. And if you'd like any additional information on Suros' PvP damage, check out the full review that I did. I definitely went a little more in depth in there. But for Suros' performance in PvP, I still think this is a great gun. Does it fit into the meta perfectly right now? No, it does not. But I still do think it is a more than serviceable option. This weapon's always kind of been like a security blanket for me. If I'm having a bad day in the Crucible, 95% of the time I can throw Suros on and turn things around. And the time to kills that Suros can achieve are still very impressive. 0.53 seconds without an external damage buff is very, very fast. And while the smaller magazine size on Suros usually only allows for a kill or two before a reload is needed, Suros has always done a very good job of allowing me to secure those couple of kills. Plus, it's really nice to have that survivability aspect built in also. And while we only have a chance of getting healed, and it's not something that we can 100% rely on, a chance is better than nothing at all. In PvE, I have to admit, Suros really doesn't hold much value for me. The damage is a bit low, the magazine size is small, and the damage boost from Suros Legacy isn't enough to make a huge difference. The health return can be nice, but in low to mid-level content where you're probably going to be using Suros, survivability isn't a big issue. And I really don't see Suros as any sort of an endgame viable weapon. Could you use it in higher end content? Sure, but there's a truckload of other exotics that I'd rather take along for the ride. But despite its shortcomings in PvE, Suros is my baby, and that's why it's number one in my book. Ladies and gentlemen, it's already been a very long video, so I'm gonna save you the long-winded wrap-up. What I will give you though is a side-by-side breakdown of all the exotic auto rifles on screen. Hang out here, pause the video, pour over the numbers, do whatever you want. Rewatch the video, that would be awesome. YouTube loves when people do that, just saying. Like I said earlier though, each weapon offers something a little bit different in different aspects of the game. My list and your list may look nothing alike, but that's okay. That's part of the beauty of Destiny. There's a weapon out there for everybody, and it's not going to be the same one for each person. Feel free to drop your list down in the comments though, I'd love to have a look. And if you did end up enjoying this video, feel free to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel to catch more Destiny 2 content in the near future. To contact me, Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, link will be in the description, or comment down below and I will do my best to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon breakdown. You guys are awesome, and I'll catch you on the next one.